Hello, everyone. I'm Major Garrett in Washington. Let me welcome you to The Takeout. 104 Super Bowls in 1 month. That is how, with characteristic grandiosity, Gianni Infantino, head of the World Cup's governing body, that's FIFA, described the sporting spectacle descending on North America next summer. FIFA, you see, regards each World Cup match as the equivalent of a Super Bowl, so much so that today's draw, carried out here in Washington, D.C., came with it the requirement that the game be referred to exclusively as football, not soccer. We, of course, have our own football and our own Super Bowl. But the World Cup eclipses that event by several orders of magnitude. The most watched Super Bowl ever, that we are told was in 2024, drew a global TV audience of more than 250 million. Most recent World Cup final, that was in 2022, drew a global TV audience of 1.5 billion. President Trump, never shy about tracking TV ratings and audiences, has hugged the World Cup tightly, quite literally. But with his restrictive immigration policies and federalized crime crackdowns lurking over the World Cup sporting shoulders, Infantino, as head of FIFA, has showered Trump with flattery and with praise. And that was capped off today with the first ever FIFA Peace Prize awarded to Trump. There did not appear to be any other contenders. Now, economically speaking, the World Cup, according to FIFA, could pour more than $40 billion into the U.S. economy. 11 U.S. cities will host 78 matches and attract, therefore, hundreds of thousands of visitors from around the world. Whatever you think of the World Cup, it is an economic, cultural, sporting, and political juggernaut. And it is all coming to America as this nation, mid-tournament, will officially celebrate its 250th birthday. And as today's draw demonstrated, it was closed out by the Village people, in case you were curious, made vivid. The World Cup is coming to North America. Matches will be played in the United States, Mexico, and Canada, but it will undisputably be an American, and by that we mean Trumpian event. Whatever the results on the pitch, Trump's presence and how the nation and the world absorb it will be ever present. And with that, we begin with Weijia Jiang in the North Lawn of the White House. Weij?
Major, you said it. It is going to be a Trumpian event, which is exactly why the kickoff today, the FIFA draw, was very Trumpian, and all the flares that the organization added. Not only the Village people, the president also got a chance to hear from his favorite opera singer, Andrea Bocelli. And, as you mentioned, he received that inaugural Peace Prize. Now, remember, the president talks a lot about how he did not receive the Nobel Peace Prize this year, even though he claims he has ended so many wars. And the president of FIFA alluded to that, talking about how much the president has done to bring world peace. And the president called it one of the greatest honors of his life. To your point about football versus soccer, the president actually waded into this potentially fiery territory, Major. He said the NFL might have to figure something else out because obviously this sport, what we were there to celebrate today, soccer, should be called football.
And Weijia, just to remind the audience, FIFA is known for a lot of things, being the governing body for world football and the World Cup, but also it has a very long and tortured history of corruption.
It does, Major, and that obviously was not something that was brought to light today because they were the visitors, they were the guests of President Trump at the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts. And so that was the focus today. And, you know, I haven't even heard anyone mention, at least here at the White House, which for obvious reasons, about that torrid history that you bring up, Major. But certainly that is the undercurrent as we prepare as a country, along with Canada and Mexico, to host next year's World Cup.
So the leaders of Canada and Mexico were also participants today. Were there sideline conversations with Claudia Sheinbaum and Mark Carney?
Well, during the entire draw, Major, the three leaders were seated together, and you could see on the camera that they were mingling, that they were chit-chatting, but they did have an actual meeting after that to talk about trade. It was just this week, Major, that the president railed against the USMCA, which is the trade deal between the three countries, and said he might let it expire in about a year and then have separate trade deals with Canada and Mexico. And he once again went after both countries for taking advantage of the U.S. in the president's view. And so it has already been a very tumultuous ride with these two countries in terms of tariffs and reciprocal tariffs. But they did have a chance to sit down and talk about that, in addition to all the football fun today.
Quick reminder, the USMCA negotiated under President Trump. Weijia Jiang,
President Trump.
North Lawn of the White House. Thank you so very much.